imagine a world where you have agents changing your code in the background. Maybe it's going to become so autonomous that you won't need an editor. I don't know. Maybe AGI is behind the corner. Until then, I do think that the editor is the platform where code is going to be written and interacted with and read.
Hello, welcome to devtools-fm. This is a podcast about developer tools and the people who make them. I'm Andrew, and this is my co-host Justin.
Hello, everyone. We're really excited to have Antonio Scandurra. Did I say that correctly?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Close enough.
Antonio, you're on the Zed team, and we're incredibly excited to talk about Zed. It's a great tool. It's doing something really ambitious, and from a team with a long history of building text editors. So really excited about that. Before we dive in, would you like to tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah. First off, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm Antonio. I live in Italy. I'm a software engineer. I started coding when I was, I think, 13. Growing up, I was very excited to watch my dad like work on Excel spreadsheets, and that was my, I don't know, I was like fascinated by like him typing formulas, and that was my, I don't know, programming always had like a huge appeal to me. So yeah, started coding when I was really young, and then I think yeah, right when I was 18, I started university, and at the same time, I started my very first professional gig. Um, and Yeah, I mean that's a little bit about me. I worked on Atom back in the day. We can chat about how I got into working on Atom. Nowadays I co-founded Zed with Nathan Sobo and Max Brunsfeld. We've been doing this since 2021, April 2021. It's been 4 years already. A long.
That's super exciting. The Atom was a very sort of like revolutionary text editor at the time that it came out. I mean, there's so many fundamental technologies
Mhm.
that Atom helped produce that power so much of the products that we produce today. Like Electron came out of the Atom project, and it's like so many products are shipped on Electron these days.
Totally.
So
Yeah, I mean, sorry, one little bit of trivia. I don't know if everybody knows this, but like the first name of Electron was actually Atom Shell. It then changed to like Electron. I think like at some point, even when like they renamed it to Electron, there were still like some binaries that were called Atom Shell. But yeah, sorry, I interrupted you. I just wanted to slip that in there because I think it's funny.
no, yeah, I kind of remember that. I was really excited about Atom when it came out, and yeah, I don't know. I thought it was like an excellent thing to be able to like use web technologies to be able to make an editor. But so yeah, how did you get involved with text editors and development tools in general?
Yeah, I think I was it was my I think my second gig. I was working as a freelancer for this German company. It was like a Ruby on Rails shop. And I think a coworker of mine sent me this invite to the beta of Atom. Atom was like a private beta at one point. I have like a vague recollection of it. I don't know if you guys like remember this, but I remember like there was this app and you had to like drag and drop a token into it, and then you could download the application. Anyway, like I was fascinated by using a different text editor, and so yeah, when it finally became open source, this was prior to the 1.0. I remember like I was using Atom on my day to day work, and I think yeah, I didn't like how split into selections worked. Like when you select the text and you want to like split the selections into lines. So yeah, the code was open, so I started basically submitting PRs to it. And yeah, the code for splitting selections into lines was, I think, n squared for some reason. Anyway, like I refactored it to be n log n. I forget exactly how I did it, but anyway, like it was really cool. Like my very first interaction with like an open source project, and I was super lucky to interact with Nathan. I think like the very first person I interacted with was Nathan, and one PR after the other, I basically started chatting with him. Like and this, at the time, this was also my first time pairing with somebody. Like I remember we used the Screen Hero at the time. I don't know if you remember that. Um, I feel old talking about this. I don't know why. I'm just like so many tools I don't use anymore. But anyway, like yeah, we paired on some stuff. I think it was about like measuring characters in like a line because Atom being basically a fork of Chromium, like yeah, there weren't a lot of APIs to look to know where to position selections and cursors. Anyway, like I remember pairing with him on that. And then I think he was like randomly in Italy. He was on a vacation with his wife at the time. And yeah, we met in Turin. We hung out a bunch, and yeah, shortly after that, I joined GitHub. So yeah, we worked on Atom together for a while. I forget the exact timing, but yeah, I was on the core team for a little while.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome that like your current gig is like first commit, first PR connected to to someone from that old project. The two projects do the same thing, but in like drastically
hmm
different ways, I think. So what were some like key learnings or lessons you took from Atom in your time there that you've kind of used and integrated
hmm
into Zed?
I think one of the most important ones I think was really think carefully about extensibility. I think at the time in Atom, like um, we had some APIs, but like basically people could reach into the editor and do all kinds of crazy things, which on the one hand it was amazing because it sort of led to this Cambrian explosion of like extensions, right? Like I think yeah, the extension store in Atom was like had a billion things in it on the one hand. On the other hand, now you have a lot of people sort of relying on APIs, and it's not version, you don't control it, and like it was really painful to just change any API at all. And I remember like when we had to make some like large changes because we had to refactor, whatever, like a major component, we would go through like all the GitHub repos to look for API, users of that API and being like, hey, look, we're deprecating this. Please update to this new thing, this new version. But yeah, that was very painful and kind of like, because sometimes the shape of an API morphs also like the performance of that API, right? Like, um, so yeah, that's something that we're like taking very seriously at Zed. Like we're taking a very different path with first of all, it's versioned, like everything's versioned. So that's one thing. And also just like another thing that extensibility I think wasn't really good for, that didn't really like help with in Atom was that yeah, any package could ruin the editor experience. Like you have stuff running on the main thread, and like at any point, a package could take you know, even as little as 32 millis, right? That's like 4 frames in a 120 FPS monitor, right? So, yeah, I think being able to control that, I think, is something that we really care about in Zed, and yeah, that was a pretty painful lesson, but I think we learned it.
So y'all had that experience of building Atom, and I mean, I think Atom's success is definitely in its lineage, right? And all the things that's contributed to the space. I mean, VS Code, which is probably the most popular editor today, wouldn't exist without Atom because I think it laid the foundations for that. And then y'all decided to create this new text editor based written in Rust with like a lot of native UI and like very different technical decisions. So, what sort of what led y'all to what Zed is today?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think this is also uh, you know, is relevant to one of the another lesson we learned, I think, which was yeah, I think like one of the biggest problems I think we had with Atom was yeah, again, performance. Like, you know, what's great about a web browser is that it gives you like this great foundation, right, that you can use to, you have a lot of tools at your disposal. Like you don't have to implement a lot The downside with that is that like they're buried like deep down and these multiple layers of abstraction that you can't really control. Like I remember man, I forget how long, but yeah, I spent a long time trying to improve startup time in Atom at the time, and like, um, I just couldn't, there were things that I just couldn't remove. Like the browser was just taking a long time to do the first layout, or it took a long time to do its first style recalculation. I remember spending nights like looking at the instrumentation in the dev tools, like the Chromium dev tools, and yeah, like you would just have like 300 millis of this purple blocks, right? And I just couldn't inspect. Like there was no way for me to like inspect it or, uh, you know, change the behavior of it, right? To like make it faster, no matter how hard I tried. And so like I remember we resorted to I don't know if like things have changed since then, so maybe this is outdated knowledge, but at the time, there was this technique called V8 snapshots, like isolate snapshots, where like we would sort of instantiate a portion of Atom up until us, as later as we could, and then like we would snapshot the heap and like store it into a blob, and then like when we reloaded Atom, it would we would deserialize that into memory, and that was marginally fast. Like we got some speed up, but I don't know. It was like we didn't have enough leverage, I guess. So yeah, with Zed, we started with an empty repo. We were just like, okay, we're gonna do it. Like we're gonna own it top to bottom. And there are things that we don't do, right? Like there are things that we defer to the operating system. Like for example, if you open Zed, like all the Chrome for the window, right? Like the traffic lights on the Mac, are handled by the operating system. But we wrote our own shaders. We like yeah, it's basically like yeah, there's a lot of custom stuff going on, and that comes with downsides, right? Because now nobody knows how this UI framework we wrote GPUI. Nobody knows how that works, right? Like even when you hire someone, like you need to ramp them up and like sort of explain how that works. I think like it's a really sweet spot where we ended up with GPUI and Z, but it is true that there's a lot of custom code. And yeah, so that's one side of it. The other side of it is just writing it in a fast language. Rust. I don't know. Like we could have written it maybe in C++. I don't know about C. But yeah, at the time, I think Rust really gave us leverage to sort of, it didn't look like a low level language to it's like yes there are problems with the borrow checker. Things have gotten a lot better since we started, um but yeah, I think like being able to have like a nice syntax, a really solid type system, and tooling that is batteries included, like you have a testing framework, like you have a solid dependency resolver. I think that was really good and gave us great leverage.
Yeah, when building a text editor, like response time is top priority, and that 300 milliseconds, like that might not seem like a long time, but in the end, it ends up being huge, right?
Totally, yeah. I mean, I I think like one example of this in Zed is like we use tree sitter under the hood to parse source files and incrementally parse them and like render uh, syntax highlighting and outline view and all kinds of other stuff. And like what we do with tree sitter is like there's this step where like anytime you edit something, we give the parser a chance to do that the incremental parsing step synchronously. So we budget, I forget what it is. I think it's 500 microseconds. Like we say, okay, like we allow you to like parse this, in time for the next frame, right? But if you can't make it, great. Like we'll just interpolate and then like send that snapshot to the background. And then like once you're finally good, like, give it back to us on the main thread, and so we'll display it. So yeah, every little bit counts. So yeah, having a fast language, I mean, 300 milliseconds is like a lot. I mean, I think for startup time, I don't know what our latest benchmark is, but yeah, I think we should be able to start Zed within 500 millis. Like you should be able to edit, and it's very snappy. Like you click the app, like it appears instantly. Um, And yeah, I mean, another thing is, yeah, like what I just said, like the ability to control what goes on the main thread, what goes on the background thread, right? Like, and not being afraid of race condition. I mean, there are race conditions, but like not being afraid of like, you know, data races as much as in other languages. I think Rust makes that a lot easier. It's not perfect, but I think I do buy the claim, fearless concurrency. I think it does work. Um,
Yeah, there's some interesting tensions here. I think like as you know, when it comes to low level languages, Rust is probably it's both one of the easier to get started with and one of the harder. So it's like a weird
right.
bifurcation there. Um, so one of the real successes of Atom was that it's like web technology, so it's easy to jump into, it's very extensible,
Hmm.
and sort of as we said, it's laid the groundwork for a lot of what has came after it. VS Code, I think the language server protocol, and like all the sort of advances that's helped establish, and just like I think people have more. We see more customization for languages and tools, and like all these other things that come out of essentially what is a legacy of writing editors and JavaScript with really simple APIs.
Hmm.
So obviously writing an editor in Rust where you can control the performance is great, and like you said, it has some trade-offs and like ease of getting started. But what are the other sort of like impacts of writing in Rust? I mean, I know compilation times can be a challenge. Like,
Oh man, don't even get me started on that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that is a problem. I will say that. I do think, yeah, I wish it was faster to compile. It is, our project, I think at this point is like probably close to 500,000 lines of Rust, and it's not super slow. I'm sure there's like slower slower ecosystems and like other projects that are slower to build. But I think like right now, if you go like in one of the leaf crates, right, and you sort of change, say that you want to change something in the UI, right? Like it probably takes on my M3 Max, I don't know, 10 seconds to like it depends, 5 to 10 seconds, let's say that. Which, you might argue, oh, it's not that long, but if I'm just trying to change the color of a button, I want to just have some I'm toying with like the how I want to render something, it is, it adds up. So, yeah, I wish that was faster. I'm hearing that Zig is I don't know when that's gonna land, but like they're writing like their own self hosted compiler that in theory it's like blazing fast. Yeah, I wish Rust did the same. Like I don't know. I like Rust, but yeah, that is a challenge. Um yeah, what are some other challenges with Rust? I mean, yeah, the learning curve I think is still tricky. It is you know not trivial to write a good Rust. Um, what else? I don't know. Um, I don't know. I like a lot about it. I don't know. Some people don't like async await in Rust. I think it's cool. I think they did a really solid job there.
Cool. So with text editors, there's lots of like previous work to look back to. There's been editors for a long time now, and you're rebuilding all of those things. But like, what in Zed is something that you think is like unique to the way that you can edit code in Zed that you miss if you like happen to use another editor?
I do think like performance is at the it's not a feature. I guess it's a cross cutting concern, but like it shows it is the number one thing that we were excited about starting uh out, but also like yeah, talking to people that use Zed, it is one of the things that people do appreciate about Zed. So that's uh that's sort of at the core, the craftsmanship like that was put into like all the data structures, and like we've been thinking about this problem for a very long time, and so like I think it shows in the performance. I think yeah, other like another feature that I think is really cool. And we only scratched the surface of it for right now, and we can get into that in a little bit if you want. But is collaboration. At Zed, all of our pairing session and collaboration sessions, they all happen within Zed. Like we'll hop on a Zed channel and like somebody will start sharing their project, share their screen, and like there's this seamless integration between like when you're in Zed, you'll see like a high fidelity like each person gets its own buffer, their own buffer, and like you can type at the same time. I can follow you, you can follow me, as I tab around, and as I tab away from the editor, we'll turn to screen sharing automatically so that I see what you're seeing, and same story like when you go back. So I think, we paused a little bit work on collaboration because, there's so many other table stakes features that we need to get to in order to sort of win the opportunity, like to actually that for people to like enjoy collaboration. But I do think that's something that is really peculiar about Zed. And again, it works the way it works thanks to the data structures that power it. Like the entire buffer is a CRDT, and like, um, you know, I think some of the things we can do, it's because of that. It's because like the data structures powering that foundation are designed to be collaborative from the ground up.
So you'd done some work previous to helping found Zed around like collaboration, like CRDT something, right? Like, was it Ditto? Was that yours?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. I mean, I think yeah. Like we actually, our first CRDT that we wrote was actually for Atom. There was this package that we wrote called Teletype. I don't know if you
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But yeah, that was our first foray into collaborative editing. So yeah, after that, like, yeah, I left GitHub and yeah, joined Ditto, which yeah, kind of similar theme. It's like this distributed database. I worked on the server side component of it, sort of like synchronizing the changes from the client devices to a replicated server in the cloud. But yeah, we use CRDTs in there as well.
So how does the collaboration features in Zed, how do they kind of work under the hood?
Yeah, so we use this technique, and again, the world might have changed since we started on this. Maybe there are newer techniques that are even better. I don't know, but like we use this technique, which I think in the literature is called RGA split. Anyway, like yeah, it's this data structure called a replicated growable array, and the idea is that like each you can think of it as like yeah, each character gets its own identifier. Um, it's a little slightly more complicated than that because actually when you copy paste, like when you paste a giant piece of text, that counts as one, we only allocate one identifier for that. Um, and yeah, like then thanks to like Lamport clocks, we can sort of like as opposed to saying I'm gonna insert like if the three of us are collaborating and I say I want to insert this character, right? As opposed to saying I'm gonna insert this character at offset 3, the algorithm works by saying I'm going to insert this character after this other character with identifier whatever, right? Now there are there's subtleties in there to make it work correctly because like the three of us we might all want to insert after a certain identifier, right? And so like there are some tie-breaking rules that you need to apply in order to make sure that like the order is deterministic across all the replicas. Um, but yeah, and I mean, it's not even that. I don't know. Like the paper is written in a pretty like convoluted way, but it really is just like find the sentinel value and like sort by. After you do that, sort by Lamport timestamp, and the Lamport timestamp that has the highest. That sorts the highest goes the closest to the identifier. Reason being that like if you're the latest, like it probably means that you're causally after those other edits as well, and therefore you want to be the closest to the sentinel value. That's kind of the how the buffer works at a high level. We implemented a bunch of optimizations around that. Actually, like I said, it's like a replicated growable array. It's actually stored as a B tree. Um, just because yeah, we want the log n performance across the board. And Yeah, I actually think that that is one of the coolest pieces of tech that we have in Zed is this data structure called the sum tree, which is basically like yeah a B tree, like a copy on write B tree, and the fact that it's a B tree makes it fast. The fact that it's copy on write and append only makes it so that it's very easy to like clone it, mutate it, pass it around to various threads. Yeah, I'm really happy about the design of that data structure.
So you mentioned a stricter approach to plugins. Like I personally use VS Code right now. Well, I guess Cursor, and there's
Mhm.
just like as you said, a Cambrian explosion of plugins. I've
Right.
pared back my usage to only like five or so plugins at any time. But what is that
Mhm.
different approach, and like how does that like play out in like actually?
Yeah, yeah. So we're using WASM, like as opposed to, I think what VS Code does is they have like their an extension host, so they do actually confine extensions to their own, a separate process. Um, yeah, what we ended up doing was taking a different step. Like we basically right now the extensibility story of Zed is still not, we're not to 1.0 yet, so like it's the, 0.1 of the extension API. But yeah, you can basically do a couple of things. Like one is you can define language servers and themes. So I think there's two ways of doing it, but like yeah, one of the ways is like you can use WASM to define your language server, and the WASM we use WASM components for this. So we define an API, and like we use this tool called WIT, which is this interface protocol, and yeah, what the extension can do is basically like yeah, implement that interface, that trait that we sort of export, and compile it to WASM, and we will import it. So yeah, like right now, some of the things that you can do with extensions are like, I think we allow two things. Like one is yeah, like installing language servers and sort of post processing certain things that the language server returns. So completions, symbols, like the extension has a chance to manipulate those the data that's returned from the language server. Um, and then like I think yeah, we have this other API for slash commands. So we have this AI offering in Zed where we have an assistant panel, and like the assistant allows you to invoke commands, which yeah, we call slash commands. So like if you install some extensions can define their own slash commands, and you can think of a slash command as a way of you know like one extension you could implement is integrating with perplexity, for example, right? So like you could have a slash perplexity slash command, and you can input a query, and like you can write some WASM to interface with perplexity. So there's a lot to do still on the extension front. I think like manipulating text would be amazing, like allowing extensions to sort of get in the way of like, or not get in the way, but be in the middle of like the user typing something, and like you can do other stuff. Also, like adding some UI elements, maybe. I don't know. We haven't yet gotten around it, so we're taking our time, I guess, with it a little bit, just because like for every bit that we add, we want to make sure that we can support it and like make it performant going forward. Um, but yeah, we found that like yeah, a lot of what an extension needs is yeah, a lot of it is yeah, just language servers. Like a language server gives you like a lot. You won't be able to do things like I think in Atom at some point we had this extension that let you like I think it was like Space Invaders or something. Like you could basically destroy your editor. Like you could render like yeah, a game that you can shoot at different UI elements. We don't have that, but I don't know. Like in the future, I am excited about you know we write our own shaders, right? Like I think it would be amazing for people to like even integrate with that. Why not, right? Like you can sort of uh write some fragment shader to manipulate how I don't know, write a certain cool animation that will be very hard to write in any other way, right? So um yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think like extensions are definitely one of the key things that are kind of like table stakes these days. And there do seem to be
Totally.
like a lot of companies who are using WASM as an extension interface. So we had someone from Figma on who was like talking about like Figma plugins. We also had Steve Manuel, the founder of Delibso, and they have this WASM plugin framework called Xtism. It seems like a good approach. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see like how that evolves. I think that like um, one of the few like frictions that I've had like coming into Zed was just like, oh, it was like this plugin that I'm used to isn't like available or whatever, and it's just a part of like ecosystem maturity and everything.
100%. I think we need to, our story hasn't been fully fleshed out on the extension front, but 1.0, when we ship 1.0, I think that's going to be a key component, and so long as we stay true to those performance values, I think we'll be able to deliver something that's cool and compelling.
Yeah, that's really exciting. So, staying on the sort of like native topic, so you had mentioned earlier that y'all built a custom UI framework, GPUI, which is like incredibly ambitious. I had previously done a little bit of Rust UI work with this library called eGUI, which is like a
Hmm.
relatively popular UI library in the Rust UI world.
Hmm.
So what pushed you to create your own UI framework, and what was that experience like?
Yeah. I mean, this is like back in 2021 when we started on GPUI. So like things have changed a bit since then. And I think like there are a couple of projects now that are interesting. I'm not following super closely. Like there's some work from Rafe Levine that I think is really, really interesting going on. I don't know where he's at with it yet, but like anyway, like yeah, at the time I think um our only option, I think, was like this library called Pathfinder, which was, I think, like, I don't know if it ever made it into Servo, but I think it was supposed to be like one of the rendering backends for Servo. Library developed by PC Walton, one of my Rust heroes. Um, but yeah, like I think even with Pathfinder, so like we started with that. Actually, that I think if you walk all the way back to the initial commits of Zed, you probably find some usage of Pathfinder. Um, but yeah, like I think I don't know. It was pretty experimental at the time. It wasn't like fully a very robust library, and so like as we were working on it, again, it was a layer of abstraction that was getting in the way of what we wanted to do, which basically our hypothesis was, which I think has been, you know, been tested out at this point, and as we proved that it was a valid hypothesis, was that in order to render an editor, and most UIs, right, all you need to have is like rendering rectangles with rounded corners, rendering text, um, and rendering Bezier curves and shadows. So it's like there are these four primitives that like yeah, if you basically, and literally, like if you go in the GPUI code, it's like we have four shaders, maybe nowadays a few more, but like assembling all these like primitives together leads to a UI. So yeah, I think this we used for rectangles we used this very cool technique called SDFs, which I think is really, really cool. Basically, like very, very like embarrassingly parallel, right? Like for every pixel you can compute like how distant you are from a shape, and like determine if you're inside or outside. And when you're in the middle, you can also anti-alias, because like you can just say that if you're in the middle of a pixel, you could just say you know color it as with half the intensity. Um, so yeah, like uh, I don't know. I would say like it was, I guess, a bit daunting at the beginning, but like I don't know. I feel like we turned it around in like I don't know, couple of months, maybe less. I don't know. It's not. If you look at the shader code, it's not that complex. Like it's not. We're not doing anything fancy. Like for text rendering, we're using like a technique that's been known forever, which is atlases, like texture atlases, like use the operating system to rasterize a glyph, save that in a texture, and then do that for all the glyphs that you need to render, cache them so that you do it like a million times, and then assemble them in parallel in the scene, right? Like in the current frame. So I don't know. Yeah, we're not doing anything fancy. And what's cool about that is that that turned out to be very cool for porting these things, right? Like, we wrote it in Metal at the beginning, and when we shipped Linux support, it was very straightforward to port it to Linux as well because we're using very simple features of the shaders. We're not doing anything crazy. So I think so far that has been a success, and it's really cool to just go in the shader and be like, yeah, this doesn't work exactly as we want. Let's just change it. Um, for paths, we were using this library in Rust called Leon. I don't know, where they do path tessellation. So a little bit of work happens on the CPU, but like then once you have all the triangles, we just upload them all to the GPU, and they get rasterized in parallel.
I'm a web dev, so all this talk about shaders, like like my brain almost can't even like connect like so you're using a shader to like render the UI. Is there like another layer that's like tracking cursor positions and stuff? Like you have to have something to connect it to, right?
Yeah, like there's like typically you don't even notice the shader. Like you don't even know that it exists. GPUI abstracts it for you. So like there's this declarative API which looks a lot like React, but it's Rust. So like a typical GPUI component would be like you have a render function, and that render function declares like a div, and that div has padding of 1. And we use like an API that mimics a lot Tailwind, so pretty familiar, I guess, for web devs. So you just say P1, whatever, like ML2, you know, uh, um, and so you basically don't even notice that we're actually doing all that shader computation in the background. And yeah, then GP like that's one thing that GPUI does. The other thing that we do is like entity manipulation, meaning like it's a reactive paradigm, right? So like an entity defines the data that it has, and then like as you mutate that data, you can notify. So it's manual, like it's not, we don't do anything automatically there. Like an entity needs to say that something has changed inside of it, and then like if you use that entity, if you read an entity like as part of rendering a rendering function, then like we will re-render those functions and like re-render a frame so that we can sort of show the updated entity code. So in your example of like cursor position, there's like an editor entity that tracks selections. It's actually more entity. An editor has a buffer, and anyway, at some point, like an entity has some selections, and there's a render function that displays them. In the case of the editor, it's actually, and I think this is actually cool to talk about. Like, you can actually go use another API, which is more imperative. Like, as opposed to rendering a component, what you can do is like define your own element. So you can say, okay, for editor, I'm gonna be in the driver's seat, and I'm actually gonna paint rectangles and stuff like manually. So because like editor, we have so many, it's the core of our product, right? So we want to make sure like it's rendered as fast as we can. And so you can actually implement your own layout and paint methods. Like there's literally like an element trait that you can override and be like, okay, I want to implement element for editor, and I want to lay it out this way, and I want to paint it this way. And so that's where you would drop down to actually drawing these shapes. So GPUI, but again, you don't touch the shader. You just say context, like we have this context parameter that we pass to these methods, and you say context paint quad, right? And I want to paint it here with this corner radius and blah blah blah.
That's super awesome. Incredibly impressive.
Thanks.
So let's move on to the AI stuff in Zed. You guys have been working real hard on that. I'd say that's probably the biggest topic in the industry of text editors right now is how to integrate AI into them
Mm-hmm.
effectively. So what is your guys' approach to it been?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I will say it hasn't been easy, because it is a new set of features, right, that you're adding to your standard editor. And so like you need to strike this balance between discoverability, like you want people to know that those features exist, but at the same time you don't want to like you know push it too much. One of the core uh one of the core principles of Zed is like minimalism, and like we don't want to have too many bells and whistles to like draw your attention to, hey, like this thing exists, like so yeah, it has been hard. Like I think one successful example where like I think we've been able to strike a good balance has been like our recent edit prediction launch, um where how like if anybody that has used Copilot, right, like you type something and like Copilot, in our case edit prediction, our Zeta model comes up with a suggestion, right, something that it wants to add to your code, right. um, but at the same time, you also have other sources of uh, uh, you know completions, right? You have the LSP completion. So how do you show both, right? Like, because you want the user to be aware of the two, the two sort of completions, but like, how do you show them in a way that it's not confusing and that doesn't, it's not visually cluttered? And so for that, like, I think one cool approach that our designer Danilo took, which I really, really liked, was we show both, and then like you can hold the option key, like they're both integrated into the same like completion menu, right? When you have like that race, like you have both completions at the same time, but then you can use the modifier key, and for on macOS that's option. You can hold option to sort of enact, temporary, like modally, that the Zeta completion, and that shows up in the editor. So I don't know, it's tricky. Like it's a new paradigm, I think, and like people are adapting to it. I think like a lot of the industry is moving towards like appreciating AI more. I think like even a year ago people were like a lot more skeptical about it. Yeah, I think in the future it's going to become even more prominent. But yeah, um for us, yeah, like we've shipped, so edit prediction. We have the assistant panel, so you can interact with an LLM to chat about your code and include your context manually with slash commands. We're actually in the process of revamping that to make it less. The one thing about it that I really like is that it's very manual. Like there's no, you know, it's transparent. Like you see what's happening. Like it's not magical. So when the LLM goes off the rails, you can kind of come back and be like, okay, I screwed up here. Let me, change this context, or remove this file or whatever. That's cool on the one hand. On the other hand, I think like I don't know, many times, especially nowadays, like you don't need to have that level of craft in the in the prompts that you type. So we're moving like we're still gonna have like a prompt editor, like we're calling, but like we're gonna move to more towards like a more managed context UI, and integrated with code-based search and edits and agentic editing. Like all of that, I think is going to be like very important for us. And yeah, we're working on it as we speak. So yeah, but yeah, it's been quite a journey, I think. Like, and it's also hard because like things change every week, basically. Like every couple of weeks you have a new model that does something different, and like now things that a few months ago were just like hard for a model to achieve, now they're a lot simpler. So you know it's been an interesting journey. But we, as always with Zed, we've tried to kind of embrace it. Like, and for example, for edit prediction, we ended up fine tuning our own model. Like, sort of again, diving in, like, and sort of owning it as much as we could. And I think that worked out pretty well. And yeah, I'm excited for the features that we're gonna ship to Zed in the near future.
Yeah, it's interesting, this clash between like known UX paradigms, like we know what the text editor surface looks like, versus like completely unknown UX paradigms where it's like, how could this like shift? Like the one example you pointed out of like the suggestion popover, like working between the two. I'd say that's my number one gripe with all these tools right now. I see the LSP suggestions and then the AI one is behind it, and I just kind of hit tab and hope.
100%. And that's, but yeah, I think that's one
Hmm.
key way in which like we can innovate. Like, I don't think we need to do like, just because like we're not a fork of VS Code, like we need to do stuff, extremely differently just because of that. But I do think that like staying true to our values, like staying true to like our performance and minimalism value, that's the added value that we can add to the AI front. And I also think like the collaboration aspects of Zed. Like I think, like I said, we only scratched the surface, but like the fact that we have a CRDT and that we can have really like fine grained control over like every single character that's in the buffer. Imagine a world where you have like agents, right, that are kind of like changing your code in the background. Like I don't know. Maybe it's gonna become so autonomous that like you won't need an editor. I don't know. Maybe AGI is behind the corner, probably. But like until then, I do think that the editor is like the platform where code is gonna be written and like interacted with and read. So um yeah, I think like investing in those primitives is gonna pay off for Zed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think y'all have done like a really good job of staying like sort of abreast of the changing industry. I mean, I feel like, of course, collaboration does feel a little bit like table stakes in a way that it like wasn't, you know, definitely 10 years ago, but like even sooner than that. And likewise now that like, LLM integration is becoming almost table stakes again. Like y'all were like one of the earliest editors to talk MCP, the Model Context Protocol from Anthropic, and that was like pretty cool to see.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm excited to see that story continue to evolve because it's like the most interesting thing to me about Zed is like it's one of the few like non VS Code based editors that are actually doing innovative stuff, right? And I mean, no hate to the VS Code team or Microsoft. Obviously, they're fantastic, but like I do think this space needs more doing a lot of first principle stuff.
Thanks, Manny. I appreciate that you value that because yeah, actually, yeah, it really means a lot hearing it. So thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is how we make this area better, right? It's just like trying new things, and we need more people to try new things and hard ways.
Totally. And look, I think also in terms of like, you talked about MCP. I think that's super cool. Like in general, I think there's an opportunity for Zed to kind of, be even, we're talking about extensibility. Like I think it would be amazing if like, we could have a really solid extensibility story where like it's very easy to like extend Zed with your AI agents. Like I don't think we need to be necessarily like in the market of like, uh selling AI necessarily. Like I don't know that like it needs to be our sole job. So like I don't know. Yeah, I think there's a really good opportunity for us there, and I'm excited to see what we can do there.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'm really looking forward to seeing what y'all build. And as we get close to wrapping up, we always like to ask a future facing question. And I feel like we're already sort of on the topic. So, I mean, for you, I just, wonder what your thoughts are. Like, what's upcoming in Zed? What do we have to look forward to? Maybe your path to 1.0. And then maybe even more forward than that. What do you think the like future of text editing looks like?
Oh man, yeah, yeah. Let's leave that last question for later. Yeah, but in terms of 1.0, I think like we wanna we're marching towards 1.0, and 1.0 means reaching a solid AI experience. We put that in the 1.0 camp, and finishing like table stake features. Like for example, we don't have a debugger yet. A lot of people want a debugger. Our Git integration, we just shipped like a private beta of Git integration. It's gonna become public soon. I don't know when this is gonna go out, but like if it's gone out, check out the Zed blog because maybe it's that's also available. And we don't have Windows support yet, right? Like we're still on Mac OS and Linux. So like I think the path to 1.0 is gonna involve those things. I also think like we need to do a better job just like, welcoming new users. I think, one cool thing about, these other tools like, Cursor, Windsurf, etc., is that like it's very easy to like switch from VS Code to them, right? Because it's the same thing. Um, so I think like for Zed, we need to do a much better job just like making the editor welcoming for a first time user. For example, importing settings from those other tools. Even simple things as like setting your theme to a similar matching theme in Zed. Like I think those are really like important things that we need to focus on. And of course, extensibility. We talked a lot about it. That's going to be a part of the 1.0 story. Beyond that, I don't know. I'm really still very excited about collaboration. Like I think, like I said, right now, like when you share a project in Zed, it's like this synchronous thing that that happens in the moment, right? Like we share for that moment, and then when the host goes away, that's over, right? Um, we've been talking a lot, and we have a pretty clear picture of how we want to build this, this data storage, this system of record like CRDB, which is basically like a CRDT, but like for tracking code changes. And I'm really excited about sort of executing on that vision. Like, what does it mean to like track your code at the keystroke level, right? Like, um, and yeah, basically being able to hop on a branch and like collaborate on stuff, and like if I go away, you can still keep going, keep working on it, and vice versa. There's still a lot of untapped power in that, and on the AI front, I think like I could see a world where like more and more stuff becomes agentic. It's hard to make making forecasts right now is like, I don't know. Yeah. Anytime I see anybody like predicting something in the AI space, I'm just like, okay, I don't know. Maybe that's gonna happen, maybe not. Like so I'm not gonna even try like predicting it. But I do think that like one thing is for sure. I think like it's become easier and easier to like, I don't know. I think we're gonna be writing less code. Like I think we basically now have machines that can type way faster than we can, and so I think that's going to be like huge in the future. So leveraging that is going to be important, especially for a text editor.
Yeah, I'm interested to see as you guys build out features how you integrate AI into those. Like you mentioned a debugger, and it's like, oh, if we're building a debugger from like ground zero and we have all of this other stuff, like mixing it and making that an
Totally.
amazing experience is a lot easier and can be done. Like in VS Code, you probably just can't.
100%. I mean, you probably can't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know much about the VS Code code base, but what is true is that we own 100% of the code base. We can change every single line, and we've written every single line, and yeah, we own it. So
Cool. Well, that wraps it up for our questions. Thanks for coming on, Antonio. This was a really fun time talking about Zed and all the different tech. Thanks again for coming on.
thank you so much for having me. It was really really fun.
Yeah, thanks, Antonio. It's incredible. You're doing amazing work. I switched over to Zed full time. I just want to invest in it because, like I said, I feel like we just need more innovation in this space. I mean, it is like the substrate for software engineering, right? It is like critically important that these tools are good. And I think y'all have a fantastic opportunity to really change the way we think about text editors. And I'm excited to see what you do.
Thank you, Justin. I really appreciate it.